Thank you for coming back. I'm recording a lot more often right now because, for obvious reasons, I don't really have a whole lot else to do. Well, that's not true. I just have extra time. I have plenty of stuff to do, but, you know, other than do laundry, I'm going to record, right? Now, that makes it sound like recording is a chore, but it's not. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad I'll be able to do it a little bit more often. Anyways, welcome back. Again, I'm Heather. This is Knitting in Paradise, even though I am coming at you from a tiny little town called Colchester in Connecticut. It's a beautiful day today. Weather changes if you're familiar at all with New England weather. Yesterday it was in the 30s and rainy. Today it is almost 60 degrees. Sunny and beautiful. There's a few puffy clouds in the sky. But it's gorgeous. My husband has gone on a motorcycle ride, so of course that's when I take the opportunity to record. This is a primarily knitting, and recent addition of sewing to the podcast. I am a brand new sewer. And is it sewer or sewist? Is it both? Is there a preference? I like sewist. Mostly because it sounds fancy, but I really like it too because when you hashtag sewer or write sewer, it also looks like sewer, and you know. So anyways, what do you guys prefer? Do you refer to yourself as a sewist or a sewer? Anyways, I will be talking about my journey into the sewing realm, and I have started. As I talked about in my last episode, I bought a machine, a brand new computerized machine. It's a Brother CS6000i, my little Terminator sewing machine. So far it's wonderful. I really like it. I don't have anything to compare it to, but it's pretty easy. I watched tons and tons of YouTube video tutorials, which I have linked in my other episode. I talked about that last episode. And I'm starting off with fairly simple projects. Obviously, one of my first projects has been a mask. This is one that doesn't use elastic. I know a lot of people are using the elastic. Elastic has become a premium commodity. But I kind of want to start it on the simpler, and then I didn't want to have to get, to buy elastic. Because I was only making one for myself, so I didn't want to buy a bunch of elastic, and because there's a lot of people out there who are making masks in bulk and giving them away and making sure all the people who need them daily have them, which is fantastic. But I needed one for myself, obviously, for the rare trips that I take out of the house to the grocery store or wherever for essential items. Anyways, this was a very simple pattern that I found on Joann's fabric, and yeah, so it's pretty basic. Other than it's got a curve in the front, so there's like a pocket for your nose, so it's a really nice fit. So far, it does what it's supposed to do. Again, I found the pattern on Joann's, and pretty simple. So there's that. Let's get into it and start talking about FOs. That's my first one, a mask. One of the things I totally forgot to mention when I talked about sewing last episode was the whole reason, and I've talked about the reason one of the reasons why I started sewing. But then I didn't show my finished object. The whole thing that kind of inspired me to learn how to sew was the bag that I made. I knitted a bag, and then it's kind of a boho type shaped bag. And I realized even though the fabric, it's like a moss seed stitch fabric, very sturdy, but still, of course, anything that's knit it's got a stretch to it. And I knew that it needed a liner so that when you put stuff in it, it didn't stretch the bag as much as it would if you didn't have a liner in it. And so that was one of my main goals as far as learning how to sew, was I wanted to put a liner in this bag. And I did, and even though I talked a ton about sewing my last episode, I forgot to show you my finished object of putting the liner in my bag. So, excuse me while I dip down here. So I know I shared this project. I showed this project on one of my episodes before I even got my sewing machine. So this is the bag, and this is the Marlene Market bag. It's got the wide, it's got kind of a, you know, droopy, that's not a good word. I can't think of the word. I'll probably put it on the screen because by the time I edit this, it'll come to me. But anyways, kind of a bohemian style bag. I put some buttons on it, which is some generic buttons that I got from the fabric store. And then I put the liner in it. And I thought this was a good liner for it. I thought it was really pretty. I know I showed the fabric also on a previous episode. It's just 100% cotton. And the only thing is I would have, and obviously, you know, learning any new craft, you're going to learn as you go. There's going to be things that you pick up as you go. And one of the main things I picked up is obviously you want to, well, most of the time, I think you want to match your thread to your fabric, unless you want that contrast. I would have rather not seen the seam in the knit fabric. It looks kind of cute on the inside because it matches the woven fabric. But I mean, it's black and on gray, and so it doesn't look bad, but I wish I would have made this so it was invisible. It doesn't look as good there. So, you know, live and learn, but still. So I didn't put any pockets in it because I wanted to keep it simple. But I think it worked out okay. So finished a bag. So there's that. Again, that's the Marlene Market bag, and that's by Bobby Fitzgerald. I found that's a free pattern on Ravelry. I used a couple of different yarns. I think the gray is Cloudborne Fibers, and the white and the yellow are just Miscellaneous Red Heart acrylic that I had in my stash that I wanted to dive into. My throat gets sore pretty quickly. I am, just having some iced coffee that I made myself in my cute little glass that my husband got me for either birthday or anniversary. He's a cutie. I'm sorry if I keep looking out the windows. I try to take this time while my husband's gone because I feel weird about recording if he can hear me if he's home. So I don't want to rush or anything, but if you hear a loud motorcycle, that's going to be him coming home, and I'll deal with it. So anyways, the next finished object I am wearing, and I'm going to try to wear something every time I record, but we'll see. But this, let me stand up and I'll show you, and it's lace. This is the Cancun Boxy lace top, and it is a very lacy, it's meant to have something underneath it, and I'm wearing a black tank top underneath it. It's got this really neat drop stitch. My words are escaping me today. Drop stitch design detail. Drop stitch detail. And then I also color blocked it. I didn't quite get it in the right spot, but who cares? And there's the back there. I might pop in a couple of pictures here just so you can get a really nice, because obviously this is actually a dark blue. It's coming across as black, I think, on screen. But yeah, I decided to color block it. And I use Barocco Mantra, and it's 100% silk. It says it's a DK, but it's a pretty fine DK. You could probably get away with using this in a fingering pattern, but it's nice and soft, but it's sturdy. and very easy. This is also a free pattern. It's by Erin Kate Archer, but I believe I found the pattern. It's by Erin Kate Archer, and I'll put I'll link everything that I talk about, yarns, patterns, all that. I'll link everything in the doodly-doo down below. I do have a Ravelry group page, but it doesn't really, I'm a new podcaster, so it's not like I have a whole lot of subscribers. But anyways, for right now, all my show notes are going to be down below. Again, yes, free pattern, very easy, very fast. This flew off the needles for obvious reason. It's entirely lace. And there's like a couple of repeats of, you have the drop stitch one, which I repeated twice up here just as a kind of a consistency finish. So I modified it just, it's knit flat, and it's knit the front and the back panel. And then seam together. Super easy, really great summer, spring top. Again, obviously you want to wear something under it. It could be like a bathing suit cover up. I love it. It's just super cute, and I can't remember if the pattern called for the split hem, but I did it. I think it did though. I can't remember, but anyways, free pattern. It's really great. Loved it. So there's that. And then the other finished object that I just did, and I showed that when I started these the last episode. These went pretty fast too. I got a pair of socks. Oops. I got the lace detail on the outside. It's on the top of the foot, the instep, but over off to the side. So, basically you're looking at it just like that when you're wearing it. So I finished these. These are by Christy from Yarn Cafe Creations. And I did a couple of modifications. I did the round toe from another, I want to say the Jelly Roll pattern. Gives you the wedge toe option and a round toe option, and I wanted to try. I usually do a wedge toe, and I like it, but I like to try different things, and so I wanted to put the round toe on this. So and then I also did an afterthought heel, just because I'm not a fan of heel flap and gusset. I don't like picking up stitches, so I just added in a afterthought heel myself. Other than that, I pretty much stuck with the pattern. I really just kind of I normally do vanilla socks, because I just like having socks, and, but normally, and I almost always do shorty socks. That's what I wear. That's what I prefer. And so I'll usually do the 2x2 rib for however long I feel like it. This is a little bit shorter than an inch. And then I'll do 10 rounds, and then I'll put in my waist thread for my afterthought heel, and then I'll do a foot. And I really haven't, obviously it depends on the yarn. By the time I get to the point where I want to start the toe, I'll put it on and just kind of eyeball it to see when I start the toe, and then I put in my toe, and it's either a wedge toe or the round toe. So really easy. This was a free pattern. And it's just got this really cute lace detail, which is just a knit two together and a yarn over lace detail, and I think they're really cute. And I talked about the yarn last time, but again, it's Yarn Ink. This is the Yarn Ink Classic Sock in Nava, I believe. And here's the rest. I had quite a bit left. I probably wouldn't have put contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs had I realized I was going to have this much left. But anyways, it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 231 yards per 50 grams. And I probably have another pair of shorty socks in here if I wanted to, but I definitely would need to put in a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff. So anyways, I'm a little bit of a cheat here. I know one of these socks I have woven in all the ends. The other one is the ends are just tucked in just because I wanted to show them both on the sock blockers, and then I haven't blocked them yet. But I just wanted to show finished objects, super cute, super fast, super easy. Yay, thank you, Christy at Yarn Cafe Creations. And then, so that's it for finished objects. The only other thing I have on the needles right now, and I talked about this last episode too, is I still have my Sipola on the needles. I'm languishing on Sleeve Island. I have one sleeve done, and I'm about 1/4 of the way through the second sleeve. And I said it before, I'll say it again, I probably won't ever do color work on a sleeve again, because I use Magic Loop and it's a pain in the butt to me, and it's also fingering, so and long sleeves. So all the planets are aligned on that thing right there to make my life more difficult. Anyway, I'm loving the sweater. It's beautiful. But I will be very happy to get it done. And I almost don't want to start. I'm not going to start another sweater until I finish that. I'm doing like other little things, like I started those socks just to kind of have something to switch to. I don't know if you do that too. I usually like having 3 or 4 projects on the go on the needles, and I like to switch and just keep it varied, and so I don't get bored, or I don't get, I don't know, but I so want to get this sweater done, and I want to start something else, but I feel if I do, the same thing that happened with these socks will happen again, and that is I'll prefer to work on the other item and not finish my sleeve. I haven't worked on the sleeve in like 3 days. So that's the only other thing I have on my needles. What else was I going to talk to you about? I know. I will share, because, I started this podcast kind of late in the game as far as my knitting career goes. So a lot of the things I will be sharing mostly I knit gifts. I do knit some stuff for myself, but mostly I knit gifts, and a lot of the finished objects I'd like to share with you on my podcast, they're already sent away. So I will share finished objects with you, but it'll be via pictures. So the other FO I want to talk about and share with you, which I really enjoyed, was my very first foray into double knitting. And that was to do the coffee and tea. They're called coffee and tea DK pot holders. And I will pop a picture up here. And super, super cute. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's by Gravity Slave. And you'll see it has a picture of a coffee mug or tea mug, and a teapot on the other side. And I made 2 sets because I made some for my mom. My mom gets a lot of gifts knitted for her, but then when her sister, my Aunt Nancy, saw them, she had to have some, and it just so happens that the colors I used for both of them each that match both of their kitchens. So I used Lily's Sugar and Cream, which is 100% cotton. It's a worsted weight. I feel like it might be a DK. The pattern says it's a DK. It might call for DK, and maybe that is a DK. Put it down the doodly-doo. Anyways, I used yellow and cream, and not the softest, but very sturdy. So it's very functional to have a pot holders. Super cute, super, I did a cable cast on and cast off just so they can kind of match. And I found that, I can't remember, but the initial cast on, I don't know what I was doing wrong, but it was like it's not keeping the fabric together. Whatever. So I did a cable cast on. It's very nice looking finish. They match, you know, the top and the bottom. Of course, obviously they're knit flat. And that was my first foray into double knitting. And I won't do a lot of double knitting. I know I've shared the Star Wars scarf that I did for my husband, which was a very involved, very long project for double knitting, and it hurt my hands to the point where I thought I was getting arthritis, but it just so happens it was just the project that I was working on. Anyway, this is a fairly easy pattern if you have not tried double knitting. I highly recommend it. Obviously, I watched a couple of tutorials. Super fun finished project, you know, to have that image on the front and the back with the colors inverted. You could do that with just about anything. So yeah, so that was the Coffee and Tea DK Pot Holders by Gravity Slave. So, so those are my finished objects that I'm going to share with you today. I can't remember. I know I shared with you on a previous episode that to support, to show my support for the whole drama that went down in the knitting community about a year ago, and somewhat still continues. It's just not quite so bad right now. But one of the victims, one of the people that was largely victimized during this whole thing was Maria of Tuscan Knits. And anyways, in my previous episode, I talk all about that and my feelings about it. And if you are at all interested in knowing the background of what happened and where it started, they did an episode on the podcast that I talked about in a previous episode. And what is it called? Gosh, Unsafe Space. Unsafe Space podcast. Please give that a shot. There's a couple of episodes where they talked about it. They talk about a whole range of different subjects, but they did talk about it, and they, you know, basically talked about how it started. And anyways, went off on a tangent. My attention was brought to just how bad it got through, I found Nancy at Round Rabbit, and she did an episode where she talked about her feelings, and she kind of stepped forward and said, you know, basically all this stuff is just, it's not right of what people are doing, what people are saying, why they're doing and saying it. And so that prompted me to speak out too. I wish I had spoken out much earlier. And then it also prompted me, finally, I get back around to the circle. Bring it back in, Heather. I wanted to show my support for Maria, and I went to her website. And the good thing is a lot of her stuff was sold out. So I'm really glad her business is back, and because I think she was hit pretty hard with this whole thing. But a lot of her stuff was sold out, but I did finally find one that I really, really, really liked and had, and I bought a skein of her Bracken fingering weight. It is 75% superwash blue face Leicester and 25% nylon. And if I've shown this to you before, I can't remember, but it's worth showing it again. It's 460 yards per 100 grams. And I got the Cordelia colorway, and it is beautiful. So it's really lovely speckled, and it's showing up that's pretty accurate on screen. So it's a rose with a little tinge of copper in there. It's got the black speckles, but it's mostly a light and a deep rose with just a hint of copper in there with the black speckles. Pretty sturdy, toothy wool, which I think is what the blue face Leicester is commonly known for. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I think it's too pretty for socks. I might do a cowl with this because I wear cowls all winter long. So anyways, Tuscan Knits. She's got lovely, lovely colorways. She's also a sewist. She does beautiful, beautiful 40s era dresses. One day I'm gonna, that's not my fashion style, but it just looks beautiful on her. And but I might do, because it 40s style dresses, they seem to be somewhat retro right now, and I might do one down the road. But anyways, she's beautiful, beautiful sewist, and she's got beautiful yarn. Give her a shot if you haven't already. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you, I know I think I talked a little bit about going to Vogue Knitting Live in January. It was my very first fiber show, and had a great time. Went by myself. Like I said, I'm in Connecticut. It was just a train right away to New York City. And I talked about how I went with a plan, thank goodness, because you can really blow your budget if you don't go with a plan. So I bought yarn specifically for 3 patterns that I plan on doing. Sipala was the one, and I'll talk about I already talked about the ones that in a previous episode, but I'll talk about them again once I get them on the needles. And then and then, you know, I did have that plan. I got yarn specifically for specific patterns, but then of course, you know, you see things, and I did get a couple of other things that were not on the shopping list, but couldn't resist. And that was, I got a couple of these beautiful, look at that. They're almost pom-poms as big as your head, people. I love these. These are so beautiful. What I love about these the most, second to how beautiful they are, is that they are 100% acrylic. They're super soft and super fluffy, a lot of movement there. It looks like a real, that looks like fox to me, but it's 100% acrylic. So no animals were harmed in the making of these gorgeous pom-poms. I don't know what animal that would be. That's a beautiful burgundy. You can kind of see it in that light with black tips. Gorgeous. Right now they're decorative, hanging. They hang back on the side of my yarn shelf there. It will take a special hat to get these. These are by Ikigai Fiber. I know I'm not saying that properly. Made in Europe. But here you go. Right here. Faux fur pom-pom. Faux fur is the way to go, people. Nobody needs to be wearing a foxtail except a fox. Nobody needs to be wearing a elephant tusk or rhinoceros horn or snake skin or other than the animal it comes from. This colorway, the color is Foxy, and this color is Cabernet. Yeah, and then they've got the ribbon ties. I usually use a button to attach them. But anyways, I thought these were really great. I don't remember how much they were, but they were reasonable. There's their, oh, there we go. There's their logo and name. So, Vogue Knitting Live. And where are we at? We're only at 29 minutes. And man, did I blow through that. But I kind of wanted to keep making episodes. You know, I don't like them too long. I like to keep them under an hour. I will take another sippy sip. But that's really all the knitting that I have for you. I did get a little sewing kit additions, sewing kit stash items. I did buy, I think this is a must-have for any sewing kit, and I'm pretty excited about them. And these are the Ginger 8-inch dressmaker shears, knife edge dressmaker shears, and they go through fabric like a butter. So I just got these. I'm very happy about it. They feel really nice in my hands. And then I also, on the same little shopping trip on Amazon. I got a little grab bag of Gutermann's all-purpose thread. And there are 3, 6, 9, 23, 6, 7, 8, 18, 26 colors in this little. So a nice array of different colors. I think there's 100 meters in each spool. So I thought that was a good starter kit of thread to have. And then the other must-have for your any sewing kit. This is based on some tutorials that I've watched and people who've been sewing a long time who are very successful sewers. I watched a couple that said, you know, here's your must-haves for your sewing kit, and I have my little seam ripper. And so there's that. Probably won't be my only one that I have, but I had to start with one. So, and then, oh yeah, what came with that were a couple things. Were these little snips, super fast, where you don't have to put your fingers. This just kind of thread snips, and then a sewing gauge, I think is what this is called. I'm not sure how to use it, but it just came. I got it. This and these two things and the seam ripper came in one little package. And I got them specifically for these guys, and this came with it. So I'm not really sure what this is for. I will be researching that to find out. I'm sure all you sewists out there are saying it's for blah blah blah. You're screaming at me and probably saying, "Well, how can you not know that?" But that's how new I am. Anyway, so slowly building up my little kit. Super excited to. I've already been asked. Of course, I shared a picture of the mask that I made on my Instagram, and one of my girl friends, she's actually who I work for when I am working, sent me a message saying, "Hey, are you selling masks? And you know, could you make me a couple?" So I've already been commissioned to sew some masks, so that's exciting. And then I'll be making one for my husband, and he wants one specifically with his motorcycle club logo on there. So I'll be making one for him as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for crafting. I hope everybody's been maintaining their mental health as well as their physical health during this pandemic. I think we're getting down to the point where we're gonna start heading down towards normal. I really am hesitant to use that word because what does that even mean? But as far as opening businesses, going back to work, I really think we're close to getting that going again. I'm finishing up right on time because my husband is coming up the driveway as we speak. Anyway, so I'm going to sign off for now. It's a relatively short episode, but I wanted to get this out there if you're looking for a new podcast. I really hope you enjoy the content. I will talk a little bit more about other podcasts that I watch, shows that I've been watching, books that I've been reading, other stuff that I've been doing in addition to the knitting and sewing content. So anyways, for now, thank you again for watching, and I hope you come back next time. Please be safe and wash your hands. Bye.